Hi, welcome to BC Photo. My name is Jimmy, and I told you guys that I would give you a lighting tip. Now, there is so much you can talk about lighting that to cover it would take an extensive amount of time. But I want to show you for this one tip how a single flash can make a huge impact if you just do this one simple thing. So let's get started. Now let's take a look at this photo. Pay very close attention to the lighting. Now what do you notice? Where is that light coming from? Well, the shadows on the face and dress give it away. The light is coming from the left. It was not fired by an on-camera flash directly in line with the lens. Now, this simple act of moving that light served to add dimension and character to the image and make it really stand out and have some pop to it. Now, those shadows that begin to form on the far side of the body make that subject stand out more by creating depth to the image. Remember that imagery is two-dimensional, not three-dimensional like our eyes see. So, by moving that light off to one side, by making a little subtle change and moving that light to one side, we add depth to the image, and it helps to remove our subject from the background and stand out more. Let's take another look at another example. Alright, one more photo. Now, using this same technique, we took this a bit further. Now take a second look at the image and tell me if you see what was done. Again, look at the light. Where is it coming from? If you guessed that the light was coming from off to the left and slightly behind her, you would be correct. Now, the first image had the light still in front. This one, however, pushes that light further around and is actually aiming at one side and her back. Okay, so how is it that the subject is properly exposed from the front? Well, simple really. I shot using aperture priority mode with my flash in high-speed sync. Now, this allowed me to expose for natural light from the front. But then the flash turned around and fired from behind her, and the result gets the subject to really stand out from the background. We get some nice hair light and a brighter edging on that one side. All this does is add subtle changes, but the results are high impact to the image. The bushes catch some light from that flash as well, and the whole image takes on more of a 3D effect. Our image gains body and depth and is improved simply by moving the flash around to the back side. Alright, now in this one, again, the flash was fired from one side, and this time the subject is facing it. The face is illuminated quite well, and the overall effect makes it look quite natural. It's almost as if she's looking into the sun instead of a flash. Again, all this does is help to remove the subject from the background and add depth to the image. Now, it seems like such a simple thing to do, doesn't it? Well, oftentimes, the simple things are what matter the most or can make all the difference in the world to the image. Take a look at a few more pictures, and then I'll show you exactly how we can do this. Okay, now you should easily be able to tell where the light was fired from. There's a ton of reflected light onto the grass to kind of give it away. But check out the overall effect. The lighting on the grass adds impact and depth. We have some hair light accenting the subject. We have some rim light produced around the edges of her body. But the overall effect is awesome, and just like the others, we are exposed for natural light from the front, fired in aperture priority mode to get the depth of field we're looking for, and with the flash fired in high-speed sync to match our shutter times. Okay, that's great, Jimmy. I'm sold. Now tell me how to get the light off the camera. Well, here's what you'll need. There's actually two different ways to make this happen. It just depends on your budget. Now the first thing you need is a cheap, lightweight, portable light stand. These things are available from bnhphotovideo.com for about $20 for a starting price. They're lightweight, they're easily transportable, they spread out pretty wide so that you can put them on uneven ground and you don't have to worry about them, tipping over or catching wind and blowing down. And you just simply mount the flash to the top of the stand. You just put the stand wherever you want it to, angle the flash in the direction that you want it to fire, and when you're done, you can simply pick it up and you can transport it to the next location. Again, a $20 expense, easily affordable. The next thing you're going to need is you're going to need a couple of flashes. Now the first flash is going to be your master flash. This flash will actually control another flash, your slave flash, and the slave flash is what's going to fire during the actual exposure. The first flash, the master, won't fire at all. It'll simply do a pre-flash, read the scene, determine the power that's going to be needed, and then relay that information wirelessly to the second flash. That second flash, when it fires, actually fires during the exposure. Okay, now here's where it gets kind of expensive. In order for you to trigger that second flash, your master flash has to be a little bit higher quality than the cheaper flashes that you can get. For example, if you're using Canon equipment, you'll need a Canon 580EX flash, and that 580EX flash will trigger a 430EX flash. So, if you've already bought an off-camera flash for your Canon camera and you got the 430 because it was more inexpensive, it was easier for you to purchase, you're still going to have to go and buy a 580EX to function as a master to control that 430EX. Now, if you have another manufacturer like a Sony, you basically need the same type of setup. What you're going to have to do, regardless of the manufacturer that you have for your camera, is you're going to have to do a little bit of research on your own when you're looking up the flashes to make sure the flash that you're purchasing has the ability to function as a master. It should be included in the description on the product. But all of them have this capability. All the manufacturers have a couple of different flashes to choose from, and usually, typically, it's the more expensive flash. Now, for you Nikon users, I got some good news. Okay, if you have a D90 camera or above, like a D300, you have already built-in capability into the camera. The camera has something called commander mode, and basically what it does is it uses the built-in pop-up flash to read the scene and then wirelessly transmit to any other Nikon flash to be used as a slave. That's pretty cool. So in other words, you guys already have that ability built in. Now, if you have a D40 or a D60 model, well, you don't have that ability built in, and you, like the Canon and Sony users, you guys are going to have to buy a two-flash system. You'll have to buy the SB900 to function as a master, and then say an SB600 or SB400 to function as a slave. Now, this is the more expensive way to go. Okay, it's the most preferable way to go because there are no wires or anything else involved. What's really cool about this is if you go into a wedding type of situation, and if you guys stick with this for any length of time, you're going to eventually start doing weddings because somebody's going to con you into doing it. Okay, you now have a setup for actually recording that wedding. Because at the end of the ceremony, you usually have these big group family shots, these big portraits with a large volume of people up there on the stage at the front of the church immediately after the ceremony. And by having this wireless setup, you set up a flash on one side of the stage, you set up a flash on the other side of the stage, you have good illumination to get that big group photo. So look at it this way. It's an investment for something that I promise you will eventually use more of the more you get into this. Okay, well, what if you don't have the money right now to, invest in a 2-flash system or a 3-flash system? Or what if you already bought a lower priced model flash and you just don't have the resources to go out there and spend, more money on a good master flash to control your slaves? Well, there is a wired solution for you. Let's discuss that. Now, for this wired setup, what you'll need is a couple of what we call hot shoe extenders. Basically, one extender mounts to the top of your camera. You then attach a cable to that extender, stretch it to the other extender, which is mounted to the tripod or light stand, where the flash actually mounts on top. The flash then thinks it's being fired directly from the camera and on top of the camera, but it's not. You swung it around and moved it off to one side. Now, this whole setup costs, less than $100. There's still some expense involved, but here's what you need to ask yourself. Is the expense, warranted? Will doing something as simple as moving a flash off the camera add impact to the image? Well, if you looked at the examples I've just showed you, I'm pretty sure that you can agree that it does.